From calling out Alexander Volkanovski after his win against Charles Oliveira to feeling the pressure before actually fighting him. Even though Islam Makhachev's been dominating the sport, his confession explains that he too is only human, and he spoke about it himself. Makhachev, the current lightweight champion, recently spoke candidly about his experience fighting Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, both of them are at the top of their game, with Alex also the current featherweight champion, so of course it wasn't an easy task going head-to-head with him. During his appearance on the popular podcast Weighing In, Makhachev discussed the immense pressure he felt heading into the fight. As a highly skilled fighter with a rapidly growing fan base, Makhachev knew that he had a lot to prove going up against Volkanovski. I mean, he is widely regarded as one of the best featherweight fighters in the world, so it makes sense, right? Also, the fight took place in Australia, Volkanovski's home country, which added an extra layer of pressure on Makhachev. He knew that the crowd would be rooting for Volkanovski and that he would need to be at his best if he wanted to come out on top. Despite the challenge, Makhachev was determined to prove himself as a fighter and showcase his skills in the octagon. He entered the fight with a clear head and a strong focus, determined to give it his all and leave everything on the mat. The fight was a grueling and intense battle.
Competitive round two. Incredibly. Big thing I've noticed is you haven't seen any jab Volkanovski, and that's his
with both fighters giving it their all, but in the end, Makhachev emerged victorious with a split decision win. Reflecting on his performance, Makhachev acknowledged that the pressure he felt leading up to the fight was intense, but as we saw, he was able to use that pressure as motivation to push himself to victory. Although Islam did mention how he could perform better if the two meet again. He suggested that he could deliver a much better performance if given the opportunity for a rematch. Like he says, he likes to dominate his opponents and finish the game as well.
martial arts career, hard and powerful.
Plus, he's got the confidence to go with it, and what he wants next is to get another chance to fight Alex if the fans really want it, putting it out there that he won't shy away from a rematch. But whether or not a rematch with Volk happens depends on how their next performances go. In addition to that, a demand from the fans also needs to be there. So if you're interested, you need to make sure the UFC knows it. But putting Volk aside for a minute, Islam also shared his plans for the future, stating that UFC matchmakers Sean Shelby, Hunter, and Dana have all expressed interest in seeing him fight in Abu Dhabi. Not sure who will be able to put him under as much pressure as Alex was able to. Over the past couple of months, we've seen how serious Islam is about the sport that he plays.
All right, look, this is that big left hand. Nice straight left. Look at this. We talk a whole lot about Charles Oliveira's.
To the point where it sometimes felt like he was being too arrogant with it all. From saying that he will definitely defeat him to calling Alex the short guy. It all seemed a little too cocky, for the loss of a better word. But confessing that he was under a lot of pressure and talking about feeling nervous goes to show that it was all done to keep himself at bay. It also shows that no matter how strong you show yourself to be, feeling pressure in a situation like this is only natural. Plus, Islam expressed gratitude for the opportunity to face off against such a skilled opponent, which again shows that he isn't as egotistic as it may have seemed. He's even promised to continue working hard to improve his skills and become an even better fighter in the future. And let's be honest, why shouldn't he have felt the pressure? Did you see the game? It's true that the lightweight championship has been dominated by fighters from Dagestan for the longest time. What's even more impressive is that he took the pound-for-pound title from the former undisputed champion, Alexander Volkanovski. But none of it came easy to him. Yes, it did seem like Alex was going to be at a disadvantage against Islam due to the height and reach difference, but Alex not for a second let that get in his way. It was never something you'd consider a weakness. In fact, he used this difference to his advantage far more times than I can even explain here. So while Islam might have walked into the octagon thinking it was going to be easy for him, I can assure you that it wasn't.
First round, and that's really what's keeping him alive in these grappling situations.
And the biggest indication of this is the fact that the match lasted a full 5 rounds. Not just that, the last round completed its entire duration, and Islam won by unanimous decision. And I don't have to repeat myself, but if you still aren't sure, it's because the competition was incredibly close. Realistically, most fans didn't even have an idea about who would emerge victorious until the very end. But again, since Islam was able to dominate a little more than Alex, he won in the end, and what followed was even greater. After the match was over, Islam displayed a great deal of sportsmanship by acknowledging the immense skill possessed by his opponent, even accepting that the final round was completely dominated by Volkanovski. However, he did take credit for the other 4 rounds, which he fought exceptionally well in. It was particularly refreshing to see that he regards his opponent as his equal, especially since the UFC space has become somewhat toxic in recent times. On the other hand, Volkanovski reciprocated the respect shown by Islam. In fact, he began his post-match speech by congratulating his opponent and urging the crowd to give him a round of applause.
First off, guys, I appreciate the support, but let's give a round of applause for Islam.
It's truly heartening to witness such mutual admiration and respect between fighters, especially in a sport as competitive and intense as mixed martial arts. It's a testament to the character of both fighters that they can engage in such a physically and grueling competition, yet remain respectful. And Alex isn't far behind when it comes to analyzing his own shortcomings. Much like Islam, he too is more than all the trash talk and banter that happens before and during the match. Instead of focusing on his opponent's strengths, Alex demonstrated his intelligence by analyzing his own shortcomings in the match. However, the most fascinating aspect of the fight was the unexpected switch-up in fighting styles. To give a little backstory of what I'm about to explain is that Islam has a very similar fighting style to that of Khabib. The reason behind this is that Khabib's father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, had trained both him and Islam. Much like Khabib, Islam too had received a little criticism for their infamous grappling style, but this was the fighter's time to shine. That's actually what was also the most exciting part about the night. For the first time ever, Islam decided to walk out of the shadow of his friend Khabib, and instead of just sticking to grappling, he also decided to stand on his feet and strike too. And how could Alex stay back then? He decided to mix things as well, and our featherweight champion, a fantastic striker, was seen grappling Islam. The result was a thrilling spectacle that kept fans on the edge of their seats that almost no one expected at all. Alex himself acknowledged the surprising turn of events in his post-fight speech, and fans on social media were buzzing with excitement. This just goes to show how unpredictable and exciting mixed martial arts can be, with fighters constantly evolving and changing up their styles to keep their opponents guessing. And there you have it, Islam's feelings regarding the match between him and Alex.